Chapter 9. Who Lights a New Star? On the second night, fearing that Anastasia would once again assign me her she-bear or concoct up some new device to keep me warm, I categorically refused to go to sleep at all unless she herself lay down beside me. I thought that as long as she was beside me, she wouldn't be up to any tricks, and I told her, "You've invited me as a guest, I take it, in your home. I imagined there would be at least a few buildings here, but you won't even let me light a fire, and you offer me a beastie to keep me company at night. If you don't have a normal home, what's the point of inviting a guest?" "All right, Vladimir. Do not worry, please. Do not be afraid. Nothing bad is going to happen to you. If you want, I shall lie down beside you and keep you warm." This time in the dugout cave, there were even more cedar branches strewn around, along with neatly arranged dry grasses, and there were also branches stuck on the wall. I got undressed. I put my sweater and trousers under my head for a pillow. I lay down and covered myself with my jacket. The cedar twigs gave off that same bacteria-killing aroma described in the popular literature as capable of purifying the air. Though here in the taiga the air is already so pure, the air in the cave was particularly easy to breathe. The dried grasses and flowers contributed a still more unusual delicate fragrance. Anastasia kept her word and lay down beside me. I sensed the fragrance of her body, which surpassed all other odours. It was more pleasant than the most delicate perfume I had ever sensed from a woman's body. But now I had no thought of wanting to possess her. After my attempt to do so on the way to the glade, which had resulted at the time in an attack of fear and loss of consciousness, I no longer felt aroused by fleshy desires, even when I saw her naked. I lay down and dreamt of the son my wife never bore to me, and I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful if my son could be born by Anastasia? She is so healthy, sturdy, and beautiful. The child then, too, would be healthy. He would look like me, like her too, but more like me. He would be a strong and clever individual. He would know a lot. He would become talented and prosper. I imagined our infant son sucking at his mother's nipple and involuntarily put my hand on Anastasia's warm, supple breast. Immediately a shiver ran through my whole body and then dissipated at once. But it wasn't a shiver of fear, but something else, extraordinarily pleasing. I didn't take my hand away, but only held my breath and waited for what might happen. The next thing I noticed was the feeling of the soft palm of her hand on mine. She did not push me away. I raised my head and began looking into Anastasia's marvellous face. The white twilight of the northern night made it even more attractive. I couldn't take my gaze off her. Her greyish-blue eyes looked at me tenderly. I didn't restrain myself, but bent closer and, quickly and carefully, with just the slightest touch, planted a kiss on her half-open lips. Once more a pleasing shiver ran through my body. My face was enshrouded with the fragrance of her breath. Her lips didn't utter, as the last time, "Don't do this, calm down," and I had no fear at all. I was still haunted by the prospect of a son, and when Anastasia tenderly embraced me, stroked my hair and gave her whole body to me, I felt something indescribable. Only upon awaking in the morning was I able to realize that this kind of magnificent feeling, blissful excitement and satisfaction, was something I had never once experienced in my entire life. Another peculiar thing, after a night spent with a woman I had always felt a sense of physical fatigue, but here everything was different. In addition, I had the feeling of some kind of great co-creation. My satisfaction wasn't just something physical, but had another dimension I couldn't quite comprehend, one I had never experienced before, extraordinarily lovely and joyful. The thought even flashed through my mind that life was worth living just for this feeling alone. And why had I never experienced anything that even came close to this before, even though there had been all sorts of women, beautiful women, beloved women, women experienced in love? Anastasia was a girl, a tender, quivering girl, but beyond that there was something in her that belonged not to a single woman I had known. What was it? And where had she gone now? I made my way over to the entrance of the cosy dugout cave, poked my head out and looked into the glade. The glade was situated at a slightly lower level than my nighttime resting place. It was covered by a layer of morning mist a half-metre thick. In the mist I could see Anastasia spinning around with outstretched arms. A little cloud of mist was forming about her, and when it covered her completely, Anastasia sprang easily into the air, stretched out her legs in a split just like a ballerina, flew over the layer of mist, landed in a different spot, and once more laughing, spun a new cloud around her, through which she could be seen the rays of the rising sun, gently caressing her body. It was a charming and delightful scene, and I cried out with an overflow of emotion, "Anastasia! Good morning, my splendid forest fairy! Anastasia!" "Good morning, Vladimir," she joyfully called out in response. "It's so delightful, so wonderful out right now. Why is that?" I cried as loud as I could. Anastasia lifted up her hands towards the sun and began laughing with that happy, alluring laugh of hers, calling out to me and someone else besides, high above, in a sing-song voice, "Out of all the creatures in the universe, only man is given an experience like that. Only men and women sincerely desiring to have a child between them. Only man having such an experience lights a new star in the heavens. Only man striving for creation and co-creation. Thank you." And addressing me alone, she quickly added, "Only man striving for creation and co-creation, and not for satisfaction of his carnal needs." And again she went off in trills of laughter, leapt high into the air, stretched her long legs into a split as though soaring over the mist. Then she came running over, sat down beside me at the entrance to our nighttime resting place, and began combing her golden tresses with her fingers, lifting them up from the bottom. "So you don't consider sex to be something sinful?" I asked. Anastasia fell silent. She looked at me in amazement and responded, "Was that the same kind of sex the world implies in your world? And if not, then what is more sinful? To give of yourself so that a man can come into the world, or to hold back and not allow a man to be born? A real man?" I started thinking. In actual fact, my nighttime closeness with Anastasia could not possibly be described by our usual word, sex. Then what did happen last night? What term would be appropriate here? Again I asked, and why did anything even approaching that experience never happen with me before? Or, for that matter, I would venture to say, with hardly anybody else in the world. You see, Vladimir, the dark forces are constantly trying to make man give in to base, fleshy passions to stop him from experiencing God-given grace. They try all sorts of tricks to persuade people that satisfaction is something you can easily obtain, thinking only of carnal desire. And at the same time, they separate man from truth. The poor, deceived women who are ignorant of this spend their lives accepting nothing but suffering and searching for the grace they have lost. But they are searching for it in the wrong places. No woman can restrain a man from fornication if she allows herself to submit to him merely to satisfy his carnal needs. If that has happened, their marital life will not be a happy one. Their marital life is only an illusion of togetherness, a lie, a deception accepted by convention. For the woman immediately becomes a fornicator, regardless of whether she is married to the man or not. Oh, how many laws and conventions mankind has invented in an attempt to artificially strengthen this false notion, this false union. Laws both religious and secular, all in vain. All they have done is cause people to play around, accommodate themselves, and imagine that such a union exists. One's innermost thoughts invariably remain unchanged, subject to nobody and nothing. Christ Jesus saw this, and trying to counteract it, he said, "Anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart." Then you, in your not-so-distant past, have tried to attach shame to anyone who leaves his family. But nothing, at any time or in any situation, has been able to stop man's desire to seek out that sense of intuitively felt grace, the greater satisfaction, and to persist in seeking it. A false union is a frightening thing. Children, do you see, Vladimir? Children. They sense the artificiality, the falsity of such union, and this makes them skeptical about everything their parents tell them. Children subconsciously sense the lie even during their conception, and that has a bad effect on them. Tell me what individual would want to come into the world as a result of carnal pleasures alone? We would all like to be created under a great impulsion of love, the aspiration to creation itself, and not simply come into the world as a result of someone's carnal pleasure. People who have come into a false union will then look for true satisfaction in secret, apart from each other. They will strive to possess body after body, or make paltry and fateful use of their own bodies, realizing only intuitively that they are drifting farther and farther away from the true happiness of a true union. Anastasia, wait, I said. Can it be that men and women are doomed this way if the first time all that happens between them is sex? Is there no turning back, no possibility of correcting the situation? There is. I now know what to do, but where do I find the right words to express it? I am always looking for them, the right words. I've been looking for them in the past and in the future, but I have not found them. Perhaps they are right in front of me, after all. And then they will appear. New words will be born, words capable of reaching people's hearts and minds. New words for the ancient truth about their primal origins. Don't panic, Anastasia. Use existing words to start with, just as an approximation. What else is needed for true satisfaction apart from two bodies? Complete awareness, a mutual striving to create, sincerity and purity of motive. How do you know all this, Anastasia? I'm not the only one who knows about it. A number of enlightened people have tried to explain it to the world. Veles, Krishna, Rama, Shiva, Christ, Muhammad, Buddha. You've what? Read about all these people? Where? When? I've not read about them. I simply know what they said, what they thought about, and what they wanted to accomplish. So sex by itself, according to you, is bad? Very bad. It leads man away from truth, destroys families. An enormous amount of energy is wasted. Then why do so many different magazines publish pictures of naked women in erotic poses? Why are there so many films with erotica and sex? And all of this is extremely popular. Demand generates supply. So you're trying to say that our humanity is completely bad? Humanity is not bad, but the devices of the dark forces obscuring spirituality by provoking base carnal desires, these are very powerful devices. They bring people a lot of grief and suffering. They act through women, exploiting their beauty. A beauty whose real purpose is to engender and support in men the spirit of the poet, the artist, the creator. But to do that, women themselves must be pure. If there is not sufficient purity, they start trying to attract men by fleshy charms. The outward beauty of empty vessels. In the upshot, the men are deceived and the women must suffer their whole lives on account of this deception. So what then is the result, I queried? Through all the millennia of their existence, mankind has not been able to overcome these devices of the dark forces. That would mean they are stronger than man. Man hasn't been able to overcome them, in spite of the appeals by spiritually enlightened people, as you put it. So is it downright impossible to overcome them? Or maybe it's not necessary? It is necessary, absolutely necessary. Who then can do it? Women. Women who have been able to grasp the truth and their own appointed purpose. Then the men will change too. Oh no, Anastasia, I doubt it. A normal man will always be aroused by a pretty woman's legs, her breasts, especially when you're on a business trip or on holiday far away from your partner. That's the way things are. And nobody here will change anything. They won't do it any other way. But I did it with you. What did you do? Now you are no longer able to indulge in that harmful sex. All at once, a terrible thought hit me like a flood and started chasing away the magnificent feeling that had been born in me during the night. What have you done, Anastasia? What? I'm now impotent? On the contrary, you have now become a real man. Only the usual sex will be repugnant to you. It does not bring you what you experienced last night, and what you experienced last night is possible only when you desire to have a child, and the woman wants the same from you, when she loves you. Loves? But under those conditions? That can happen only a few times during one's whole life. I assure you, Vladimir, that is enough for your whole life to be happy. You will feel the same way eventually. People enter many times afresh into sexual interaction only through the flesh, not realizing that true satisfaction in the flesh is impossible to attain. A man and a woman who unite on every plane of existence, impelled by radiant inspiration, earnestly aspiring to the act of creation, experience tremendous satisfaction. The Creator gave this experience to man alone. No transitory thing, this satisfaction, no. It never can compare with fleeting, fleshy gratification. As you cherish the feelings from it over time, all planes of being will, with influence sublime, happify your life and the woman too. a woman who can give birth to a creation in the Creator's own image and likeness, his design.